right, let's hear from Anas, DeFi, and how it's going to take over existing financial.
Good afternoon, Habibis and Habibis. Let's talk about a $10 trillion opportunity at our hand, which is DeFi. And before we begin with, it's just the question, like everyone knows money plays an important role in our life, but still, like it's still given in the hands of people who are like away from stuff. So here we're going to talk about what DeFi is all about. It's all about not just trusting, but verifying by yourself, verifying through code, and like if you just go through any of the blockchain protocols that are live, that serve good amount of volumes, you would see that the code is there, the math is there, it all works, and that's what basically the financial rails should be about. It should be open, permissionless, and open for everyone, and that's what I'm going to talk about and why it matters. So let's begin with it. So why it all matters? Money. Money is the most essential thing in our whole lives because it basically starts with it. Yeah? Every transaction we do, we call it a transaction, but when you give money to someone for something, that's a transaction. And that's what we say in blockchain as well. When you do something on blockchain, it's a transaction. And the next thing is transparency. Transparency is the main key in everything that you do in DeFi because that's why we all started this financial rails on chain. We just wanted to let people know what happens on chain when you interact with anything. You can basically, if you have the will to understand, we have the documentation, we have the explorers. I know it kind of jitters you out, but when you check it out, you have everything for you to understand and read through what the fuck DeFi is all about and why do we need this kind of stuff. Because you cannot, basically give someone your money and just trust the human factor because we know, emotions change, but math doesn't change. 1 plus 1 is always going to be 2. 1 plus 2 is always going to be 3. So that's what matters a lot. Like when you open your app in your mobile phone and you open the calculator, the answer that you get, you never question it back. That's saying it might be wrong, right? It's always correct answer, and that's what DeFi is all about. When you interact with any protocol, it works, and that's what our promise with DeFi is. And the next thing is, people might ask, blockchain offers a lot of things. You can do NFTs, you can do meme coins, you can do gaming. But personally, blockchain was actually built for serving financial services. So that's why essentially the invention of Bitcoin was, to settle payments and money in a transparent manner without trusting anyone else. Just trusting the code and the math, and it works. So that's why we had the DeFi revolution, and I'm just going to explain what we have today by going on to the next slide, which basically talks about, we today have market makers and order books on chain. We have borrow-lend markets, which are banks. We have insurance, which is something that you find in the real world as well. And we have real-world assets that are tokenized versions of real-world metal, forex, and all the stuff on-chain for you to take part in the price appreciation or depreciation. And we have forex markets as well, where you can basically partake in the currency exchange. If you want to hold dollars, you can hold dollars. If you want to hold euro, you can hold euro. If you want to hold rupees, you can do that. That's what the best thing about DeFi is, you can build things around it. It's an open world for everyone, and it's an opportunity of about $10 trillion. It's basically capable of replacing the financial existing rails that we have in this world, which is very important because right now the way it works is you basically trust a bunch of people that they will, govern and do the things for you. And as we all know, humans have shortcomings as such. We don't, some days we are sad, some days shit doesn't work, and we kind of fall short on doing things. But with math and code, these things don't have any emotions, they work. And we need this kind of infrastructure for our money to be held with, not with people who you don't even know or can change the next day. Because rules can always change, but code can never, as long as it's deployed. So yeah. Let me just move on to the next slide, which basically talks about how it all began and where we are. So DeFi didn't exist basically before 2020. It was nothing, and we saw the boom of DeFi with on-chain AMM on Ethereum called Uniswap, followed by some yield aggregating protocols like Yearn Finance and Compound. And these guys basically unlock the opportunity of permissionlessly borrow lending money, which is like a very powerful tool. You know, like without even knowing your counterparty, you can lend money or borrow money. But if you see what happens in real world, you have to sign up a bunch of papers, and then you have to also understand the terms and conditions and know that if you are capable of getting that money or not. But in DeFi, this doesn't work like that. You can just pop off to any of the interfaces that we have, and then it just works. Then that's why we have endless potential. And you know, we did go at a high level of $150 billion, but if you see, you know, like, I don't want to do any technical analysis, but it's a high and low, by the way. So we just moved about, now it's about $800 billion, something around TVL, which is ours, and we are doing $10 billion every day in volume, which is just sort of grow with open source protocols that we have on Solana and all stuff. And the best thing about Solana is, you know, like the cheap transactions and the fastness of the blockchain actually propels the narrative and the use case of DeFi. Like it all started on Ethereum, but now with the blockchain that we have, which settles in less than 600, like 400 to 800 milliseconds, it basically powers much more powerful applications that can unlock much more utility for the things that we do on chain. So yeah, that's the endless potential, right? And I'm also going to talk about the risks, because we all know things happen, things go bad, so we need to cover that as well. So there are three kinds of risks, basically, when you are interacting with protocols that handle your money, which is programmatic risk, economic exploits, and social engineering. So the programmatic risk, basically exploits are something that, you know, as humans, when we code, we overlook things and they just happen to be exploited by people who are much more familiar with the architecture. But eventually, you know, like if you see with protocols like Aave or even on Solana like Solend and Radium, what you see is like with time, you know, that these things get more solidified because the code is more tried and trusted. And that's how things go. Like, you know, why do you trust your bank? Because the bank hasn't gone bankrupt for the last 100 years. But you never know, you know, like if someone's emotions or someone changes in their mind, things can go wrong very fast. But in DeFi, it doesn't happen because it's all about, you know, trusting the code and verifying yourself, not on any other words, not even my words. That's why I have something written like, it's not a financial advice. You can go and check yourself, and that's what we basically explain here. The second thing is the economic exploit, where people basically don't understand how finance works and they try to work or build things, and that's where, you know, things stumble down. But yeah. And the last part is social engineering, where, you know, basically people send some malware to the developers' laptops, or things happen and kind of leak the keys. That's why we basically ask people to have multi-sigs and the stuff to be a bit more secure, because it handles billions of dollars of volume. So these are the risks, and I am not, you know, I'm not basically. We have to talk about the risks as well. So yeah, so far we have covered what's DeFi, what's risk, and let me just tell you what I did to make a difference in this world. Because, you know, like I started in 2017 playing around, and, you know, it basically, you know, empowered me when I saw like me coming from XYZ country. I could just interact and have an equal opportunity with people to trade or do anything on chain. And I was like, the first protocol that I built was Investin, which is an asset management protocol that allowed any trader to start their own hedge fund on chain and access capital in a non-custodial manner. This was the first time that was done on Solana, and we were the first ones to basically integrate multiple on-chain protocols, and it went good. But eventually, due to some lack of infrastructure or liquidity, or I would say a burst of a bubble, that kind of didn't start. We had some liquidity issues, and I had to solve the liquidity issues. And for those purposes, I went on to build Flash Trade, which is an asset-backed margining protocol that allows anyone to provide liquidity or trade against that liquidity at 100x leverage for crypto assets and at 200x leverage for Forex and metals. And we are the only ones who are offering this on Solana right now. And the pool-to-peer model actually allows anyone to trade and anyone to provide liquidity. So this is a very powerful protocol that unlocks much utility for people. And yeah, so this is what I did to make a difference in DeFi. And I basically ask everyone, it's an open space and a very big space. The total available market is about $10 trillion and it's growing every day. So please join us on DeFi, and these are my Twitter or TG. You can just DM me if you have any questions. And yeah, thank you and have a good day.